To you, studio. Good morning to you, and thank you very much for staying tuned to Smooth 98.1. This is Smooth Breakfast with Valentine Ohu.
And Ayo Mairo Ese. Good morning, everyone.
It is time for us to talk. It's actually time for you to talk. At this time for Lagos Talks 981, we have a special for you. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of February 2020. Yesterday was World Cancer Day, and for the past 3 years or 2 years, it will extend to next year. The focus has been I can and I will as a call for everybody to rally around cancer patients and survivors, provide support to them, and also for on an individual level for an action, a proactive action to be taken against the scourge. A lot of awareness has been raised, and we're still raising awareness because it's never enough, especially in these climes. We'll touch on areas dealing with cancer, areas of awareness, outreach, and treatment. And in the studio with us this morning, we have two wonderful ladies that they've beat the odds. You know how bad traffic is in Lagos. They beat the odds to get to the studio very early, and I must really thank them and commend them at the start of the show. Our guests are Orode Uduaghan. She's the founder, Pink Pearl Foundation. Welcome, Orode.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so much. And Bindiya Sarangani, thank you so much for making it into the studio. Bindiya is the Lakeshore Center's director. I've been having chats and collaborations with Lakeshore Foundation for a long time. Lakeshore Center, you do such amazing work. Thank you very much, Bindiya, for
Thank you for having
answering
me.
our call. Thank you. All right, so these two guests will be having this chat with us, but we'll first open up our phone lines, especially for WhatsApp messages 0809 444 0981.
You can also search us on YouTube. YouTube is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. We usually stream the Lagos Talk special, so please go on there. You can also use the live chat option to send us your comments or ask questions. In addition to that, we are on Twitter at Smooth 981 FM. Kindly use the hashtag Lagos Talks 981.
All right, so it's World Cancer Day. I am and I will. The focus really we've spoken about. Now, there are efforts that are being made by the federal government to try to see how they can provide support to cancer patients across Nigeria. Have they done enough? That might be the question on your mind right now. But let's appreciate the efforts that have been made so far on your own, on a personal level already. How would you say the awareness on cancer, or cancers have been so far?
Thank you. So awareness has definitely increased. I mean, when we started Pink Pearl in 2007, I think we were the third or the fourth NGO, apart from Coop at the time, that was doing breast cancer. In fact, what even pushed it when we had done our first event and we raised money and we donated a mammogram. On the day of the concert, the doctor actually asked people that day, "How many of you know about breast cancer?" And in the whole field of thousands of people, there were about just 5 or 6 people that rose their hands to say, "Oh yeah, we know what breast cancer is," and it was mind blowing. So that single experience literally led to all the other things we've done with the foundation in terms of awareness. So, but this is 12 years ago. From then to now, there's been an increase in awareness. A lot of people know about breast cancer, know about prostate, know about all the kind of cancers you can think about. Cervical cancer awareness is growing. People are talking about it. But then now beyond the awareness, the question is the what next. So awareness is there. Everybody knows. The market woman knows because we've done a lot of campaigns. We've gone to markets, we've gone to villages, we've done a lot of things in terms to increase awareness. But now the question and where we are right now is the next milestone. So beyond awareness, what's next? So yes, awareness is there.
All right, I like that the way you've wrapped that up because it leads me nicely to speak to Dr. Bindiya with regards to what's next. I know, and maybe before we even ask you what's next, perhaps I should ask your own experience with regards to awareness. How aware? So in Lagos State, we can possibly say that yes, there's been a lot of awareness raised in the past few years, but we also talk about the women who live in rural areas, people who live in Kano State, in Kaduna State, Borno State, people who live in Taraba. Are they aware?
That's a good point. Yes, Lagos State is aware, and we can actually see the shift as we mentioned for the last 5 years that Lakeshore has been open. Even we've noticed that 5 years ago it was taboo to talk about it. People didn't talk about it. People hid it from family members, from friends. Now survivors are talking about it. People who've been affected are talking about it. So we're seeing a lot more awareness now, a lot more acceptance of the disease now than it was there before. But you're right, there's a lot of work to be done outside of Lagos. Lagos is one place. Abuja, Lagos, those, we've done our work. NGOs have done excellent work there. We've been trying to raise awareness, but outside of Lagos, we still find there's a gap. And we need to, and this is where the government comes in, because these are areas that not a lot of people have access to. And the government needs to come in, media needs to come in, and we need to start raising that awareness there.
Yeah.
Because if someone sees a lump, they don't know what to do with it, to be honest. They'll just hide it until it gets worse. And then we see really late stage cancers with us.
So, because you mentioned us, I'm going to ask you, how do we meet you? Well, at what points do we meet you? What do you expect from the media?
It's exactly what you're doing now.
Okay.
This
Beautiful.
is exactly what we would expect, is raising awareness, not talking about these real issues that affect all of us here in Nigeria. And the more we talk about it, the more someone or the other will listen. I know it's not the most exciting topic. People want to hear nicer, fun things. Not cancer is scary. It's depressing.
Yes.
But I think the more we all talk about it, the more we're all more aware about it, hopefully something will stick, and it will make people, push people to do what they're meant to be doing, which is get screened on a regular basis.
So, talking about pushing, how do you expect, or rather, what would you expect from the government on its part? Because sometimes I feel like it's in communication, two persons are involved. So I'll tell you what I expect from you, and you have to understand what I'm saying before you now know where to step in or how to come into the conversation. How do you now involve the government in that conversation for a proactive, step moving forward?
We expect so much from the government. Things we expect, it's the basics. Let's start with the basics. The government has the reach, it has the political pull, and it maybe awareness can be left to the NGOs and the treatment centers around Nigeria. But in terms of increasing accessibility of treatment, that's where the government comes into play. Increasing mandates and making it a mandatory NHIS insurance schemes. That's where the government comes into play. It's just increasing the political, making it more important, making it an important issue in the government's agenda.
Yes.
Is what would help. So they don't really need to put out money. Nigeria has money. It's just the money needs to be geared towards the right place, which is healthcare.
That's right.
I mean, Nigeria, we yes.
Yeah, I know what you're not saying.
Thank you
Yes,
very
so
much.
true.
Now, when we look at talking about the government, I think we'll focus a bit on them, because we applaud the work that NGOs have done. So not-for-profit in Nigeria have done so far in raising awareness, in even giving free checks, and in some cases subsidized treatment in the cases where they've been confirmed to have cancer. Yesterday, as part of the celebrations of the World Cancer Day, the Minister of Health, Dr. Haniwe, stated that the federal government is has upgraded 7 health institutions to manage cancer-related ailments. When we're talking about detection, treatment, we need to find the institutions that can cater to these, to these needs. Do we have enough facilities in Nigeria at the moment? Bearing in mind this statement, because of course the World Cancer Day was an opportunity for him to state what the government had done thus far in this fight against cancer. Do you think we have enough institutions in terms of health centers to cater to these needs? Do we have enough doctors who are even aware of how to interact with people who walk into their doors with concerns around this? Specialists, oncologists, yeah.
One word? No. I mean,
Absolutely
point
not.
blank, no.
No.
We're not there yet.
Not even close.
The government's trying. The 7 centers is a good step in the right direction. We don't know. I mean, we read the article at the same time as you, so we're still trying to figure out what level each of those centers are. Treatment for cancer care is not. It's not one thing. It's multiple It's chemotherapy. It's surgery. So you need to have the right drugs available in the country to be given chemotherapy, and people trained on giving chemotherapy. You have to have the right surgeons who are able to do the surgeries in a very systematic way. we're supposed to have radiation facilities, and that's where I think a lot of focus is on now. Radiation facilities are expensive,
Yes.
but the government's trying to put it in, but there are, as we said, extremely expensive centers. They're very highly specialized, and these 7 centers, I don't think they offer radiotherapy yet. The plan is there.
They actually have, so what the 7 centers, according to his report, there's an ongoing installation process of newly acquired brachytherapy machines. I hope I got that right, and CT simulators. I believe the CT scan is going to be used for CT scans and for detection of cancer cells in the
That's for
body
diagnosis.
for diagnosis. But the first one, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if you've ever encountered that.
I know there's one coming to Luth.
Okay.
There was a report recently this week about one coming to Luth, but then that's just Luth. That's just Lagos. What happens to Abia State and Imo State and Delta and Edo and all those places? And just to speak more on what she said about the training. So I remember when we had given the mammograms at a certain central hospital in Nigeria, and we just wanted to do like an update to see if it was actually being used. And we went there 2 years later, and it was still in the pack. You know, the way we gave it to them with the booster and
It's brand new.
It was brand new.
You don't want to make it.
I mean, how much did it cost?
It was 18 million at the time.
So 18 million sitting.
It was just sitting there, you know, and I almost like grew my hair out.
Did you ever ask why it wasn't open?
There was no one who was trained enough to use it. This was 2009. There was nobody in that hospital, that central hospital, in that place that was trained enough to use it. So that's part of the problems we suffer in terms of infrastructure when it comes to dealing with health in Nigeria. It's a huge
Please
problem.
tell us that you've been there recently.
I haven't been there
And it's been
recently.
open.
I hope it has.
Well, when was that last time again?
This was 2009. So we gave them in 2007, and then in 2009 it was still the way it was.
You guys should have probably waited till after like 2010. But that's a major problem. As funny as it sounds,
It is.
I can't even imagine how overwhelmed you are at Lakeshore Cancer Center.
Yeah.
I mean, just paint a picture in our mind's eye. But after the break, because we have to take a quick break, this is a special conversation around cancer, the awareness, the diagnosis, the treatment. All these areas need to be treated on the government side, even on your side. How well do you know your cancers, and you know what steps are being taken in your environment about this? Let's take a break here on Smooth Breakfast.
Hi there. Let me tell you something about Providus
I can't
Bank.
believe it. Were they the ones that
It's not
asked
the
you?
first story I've heard.
Were they the ones that
No,
asked
so you know when we did the first concert, we raised money. We got about 23M in profit. So we now bought. It was actually quite funny. Actually, but I didn't want to say it's Central Hospital, right? So we bought it and we bought it and we gave them as donation. I mean, that's my place now. That's where I'm from. So it just made sense that let me just. Almost 2 years after we went there, okay, how far? It was still there, like in the park and everything. And then, I mean, the obvious comment was, to be honest, there really wasn't anyone who could actually operate the machine. There was no one who could actually operate the machine. I was actually contemplating of removing it, but then it would have just been.
Yeah, but did you put someone in there who can use the machine then? Did you help them with that aspect of
No,
things?
that was in my head. I thought you guys.
So you didn't
That would have even been. In fact, the fact that you went back there to check after 2 years just showed that you were interested in
wanted to know.
it being used.
Oh
No,
yeah, it
wasn't
has
just-
to be used. It wasn't just donation.
wasn't
There's
just
no
donation,
point
yes.
because I mean it's my own cancer journey
But
is very
we're back.
personal. Okay, we're back.
So we all have personal or impersonal experiences with cancer. By knowing someone who's gone through it, that experience, and Seiche be one of them, one of my colleagues from another radio station. I mean, he went through this experience with cancer, and it affected his respiratory tract, and it gave him a whole lot of problems, right? But he kept up his positive energy because he had a support system around him that made him pull through. But these are the things that, first of all, you have to even understand what the cancer is about first. Have the finance to fund that treatment. Most of the time, when you hear about cancers and people seeking treatments, they fly them abroad. Now speaks to the larger deficiency we experience here in Nigeria. Before the break, we were talking to Bindiya about the overwhelming nature of cases you treat on a daily basis at Lakeshore Cancer Center. Just give us an idea so at least we can understand.
It's heartbreaking, to be honest. Some of them, when we started, we had a different idea. We said we are purely going to be treatment. Awareness outreach is happening around. We're going to be treatment. We're going to have patients coming in. getting care, and that's it. That was our, that was what we were going to do. But slowly we realized we were only getting stage 4 cancers, and stage 4 cancers are not really treatable. They're um, palliated. You can prolong life, you can give them a good quality of life for as long as they're living, but you can't treat it and get the cancer out. And that's okay as long as you can manage the cancer well enough. But it's not the most ideal. In the rest of the world, we're seeing stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 4 is a rare situation in America. You don't see stage 4 in America because there's just so much awareness. So we realize that we need to go back, and we need to actually, so half of our time now is treatment, and half is we have a whole department for outreach and awareness and ensuring that people understand what it is and they come early enough. Like we need people to come early, because if there is a lump and you remove the lump in stage 1, that's probably going to be it. There's no other expense beyond that. There's no financial implication. But if you're doing stage 4, the cancer has spread. There's chemotherapy, there's surgery, there's radiotherapy. You're talking in the millions, and a lot of people can't afford it. But if we catch it as early as stage 1, when you first see changes in the breast, and I'm just talking about breast cancer because that's been the most talked about, but it's all the other cancers, the same idea. You take out the cancer, and your survival rate increases, your financial toxicity is less, your support system, the emotional stress that it involves is less. Everything just becomes better for you when it's a stage 1 versus stage 4. So we see a lot of cases where they knew about it earlier, but because they didn't know where to go or what to do with it, they let the lump be and thought it would just go away. And those things don't go away. They need to be taken out, or they need to be treated, and they need to be looked at by a healthcare professional. So those are things we noticed. The other gap we noticed is, as I think we mentioned, that doctors, are they aware of what to do when they see these things? We don't know the ecosystem here. We don't know where to send people, where the referral centers are. So we need to all put our heads together and tell the doctors that when you see something like this, or tell people to do a clinical breast examination when if they go in for malaria tests, for example, because they have malaria, they should be doing screenings at that time. You catch the patient at that point and you say, do a mammogram, do a cervical cancer screening, do a prostate cancer screening test. They're simple tests that you can do, but no one's going to come to the hospital for that screening. You catch these guys when they come in for something else, and then you get these screenings done. So it makes us a more aware population.
Thank you so
That's,
much.
that's so powerful what you
That is
just said.
so important.
That's so very important. I'm thinking about it, and it just touched the raw nerve that you evoked before the break already, where you mentioned how you donated the mammogram to a certain hospital in Delta State, and they didn't know what to do with it. After 2 years, you went back, which really speaks to your commitment to see it being used for why. I mean, that's the reason why you sent it there in the first place. But that could have addressed the problem that she just mentioned.
Yes, in terms of awareness, I would come back to you already to talk about the reason why it's so personal for you, because I hope that you can be the face and the voice for people, and they're not burying their heads in the sand when they see something unusual happening to them. Like Bindiya has mentioned, it is key to find out early and not try to hide away from the fact. And also, you mentioned that breast cancer, the reason why you're talking about it is because in Nigeria, breast and cervical cancer are the most common cancers for women, while prostate cancer for men. And hopefully before we go, we'll be able to touch on some of the things to watch out for, so some of the symptoms, so that people can check. And please, if you're listening, yesterday was World Cancer Day. Perhaps the month of February should be declared Cancer Month, Cancer Awareness Month. This is a good time for you to book an appointment to have your examinations done. Whatever, at least do the breast examination and the pap smear for cervical and prostate cancer. I don't know what that's called, but
it's a blood test.
Blood
It's a PSA blood test for men over 40 years old.
Please ensure you do that. Now, back to you, Orode, with regards to knowing and or trying to be proactive in terms of this. Please share your story with us.
Okay, so why did Pink Pearl start? I had lost an aunt who was barely 30 something at the time. She found out that she had cancer, and then 1 year later she was gone. So basically, she must have had it in her for a while. This was 2006. So Pink Pearl started, and then when Pink Pearl started, we met a couple of people. Like she said, it was quite funny. We usually would get them at stage 4. So there was a particular time we were having a conference, our very first patient ever, and she came for the conference. She had breast cancer and whatnot. She didn't even know what was going on with her. She didn't know it was breast cancer. By the time she came to the conference, and the doctor was there, and he said, "Okay, let's just have a quick look." Everywhere was eating up already.
Lord.
So it was like paws, and her hands, her fingers were gone, literally. At that point, I was thinking, okay, this woman is not going to make it past 2 weeks. But then, just so that you don't turn people away, we had to still treat her, palliative care, manage it for, and in 3 weeks she was gone. But she at least enjoyed the last couple of days of her life in the hospital and with loved ones and family. So we always used to get them at stage 4, which was a major problem, huge problem. In fact, that is what actually prompted this mammogram thing that we bought. That, okay, maybe if you guys actually go for screenings early enough and you find out at stage 1 or stage 2, you will survive it. So personal story, down the line, I lost my grandma as well. Why? She had cervical cancer. A year later, my mom's older sister died of breast cancer. Now, this woman is a nurse, which is quite weird because she had this lump for 21 years and told nobody. 21 long years. A child has been born and grown into adulthood and almost married. And she said nothing to anybody. And in a couple of months, 3 or so, 4 months after she was actually properly diagnosed, she died. We lost her. So that became even more personal for me to start shouting to people, look, guys, go for this screening. Yes, it's expensive. But then at the end of the day, what is 10K to do a mammogram or 20,000 to do a mammogram compared to you losing your life? And we found that most of these women who were actually suffering in rural communities were women who were probably breadwinners of their families. They were the support system. And then when they die, everything goes into chaos. So it's really, really important in terms of going for screening, because that's the only way we can save you if you come at a stage 1 or max stage 2. In 12 years, we've lost about 4 of our patients with this. In fact, one came when it was early, but then we said, okay, let's take you for treatment. She said no, that she has a final exam that she wants to do. When she's done, she'll come back. She was 27 at the time. Of course, when she came back a year later to us, the thing had spread. It had gone beyond what we could manage, and she died. We had one that said, okay, she's coming, let her go to her. I'm a Christian, I love the Lord with my heart, and faith is like my foundation. But she said, let's go to her pastor. She wants to go to her pastor. 6 months later, she came back. The thing had gone. We lost her. She died. So these were all the things that we had to deal with, and we had to start tackling and say, yes, you guys, faith is there. Glory to God. But if you see a problem, get it solved first and let God do the final healing. You know what I mean? We tell you to come. There's nothing more important than your life. Oh, we have to do our work. We have to do exam. We have to take. When you die, what's going to happen? Now that she's dead, all the work and the final exam she was trying to do, it didn't come. It came to nothing. So please, it's really important. This cancer everything, because all the people I have seen that we've lost, there's only one factor: late detection. We've never lost anyone that has come to us at an early stage. We've had survivors, and none of them have died at early stage. They always come when it's like too late or far too gone, but they come when it's early and they relent and then come back when the thing is already gone. So it's a real problem.
Very interesting story. Thank you very much, Orode, for letting us into your personal life that much. I really appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. And thinking about all the things you said, it would be safe to just say that when it comes to cancer, faith without works is death. Because if you have faith and think maybe your pastor or so, because we're a very religious country, we always believe that what the pastor say, not knocking anything they say at all, but whatever the pastor says is absolute, and the prayer can take it away. We know that statistic is based on numbers that are seen. And if people do not present themselves, you can't actually identify single cases of illness. And going back to what Bindiya said about, that's a very strong suggestion. Health practitioners, if they have the tools though, for health practitioners to carry out those screenings, if you come for even something as small as headache, even if it's not small. But then let's backtrack a bit. Examine different types of cancers, especially the ones that we know that are there cancers that are peculiar to people in the tropics and cancers that are only unique to different parts of the world. Can we establish any of these things? If it's a myth, because there's a lot of people believe that there are cancers that are, for lack of a better term, exactly, rich man cancer and there's poor man cancer. What type of cancers do we have?
Honestly, cancer affects everyone.
Everybody.
It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is in the world. You could be rich, you could be poor, it just affects everyone. The 4 big cancers though in the whole world it's the same cancers that affect Nigerians. So it's breast, cervical, prostate, and colon cancer.
Colon.
So we're seeing a rise of colon cancer in Nigeria, and it's probably the change in diet, the change in food habits, lifestyle changes. So we are seeing a rise, but those 4 cancers can be prevented because there is screening for those 4 cancers. There are other cancers that there is no screening for. It's based on symptoms. So if you feel like you have a headache all the time, or and some other symptoms combined, you're tired, you have a headache, you have a few other symptoms, you go to the doctor, they could potentially diagnose you with some other cancer, maybe. But these 4 cancers, there's easy detectable tools to actually know whether you're at risk for it or not. So like breast cancer is a breast examination if there's changes in someone's breast. So it doesn't even need to be a lump. We always think lump is breast cancer. Sorry, but it's also changes in the tissues around the size, a few different aspects. I don't want to go. That's a lecture on its own. But that's an easy thing to do. Mammogram is a scan. Yes, that costs money, but a clinical breast examination is free, and we do it free.
Please say it again for people in the back.
Yes.
So a clinical breast examination is an examination done by nurses or healthcare practitioners where they check your breasts and the lymph nodes underneath the underarms with the hands. It's very easy. It takes 5 minutes. We do it free at Lakeshore because we realize that people, and also you're supposed to do it to yourself every month.
Yes.
And that's called a self breast examination. It's a no-brainer. If you know your own breast, then you'll know whether there's anything wrong with it or not, and then you should go to the hospital. And then obviously there's further testing that needs to be done to confirm whether there is cancer or whether it's just a lump, because lumps don't need to be cancer. They can just be
lumps,
just benign lumps. They don't need to be cancer, but they need to be tested to make sure, because if it is cancer, then it has a potential of growing very fast. In Nigeria, we're also seeing breast cancers at an earliest age, and as you mentioned, there's no data really to support it because we don't have a proper national cancer registry that can tell us all the cancer cases in Nigeria at the right. So and data is key to everything we want to do, but unfortunately we don't have that yet. It's a heavy lift. We're all trying to do it, but we're all trying to do it separately. We've not come together. It's our fault as well. Treatment centers, NGOs, we've not come together and said, let's find a way to get data. But the idea is, we're seeing it in our own centers. It's coming at a younger stage, as you said, 27 years old. It's not common anywhere else in the world to see a 27-year-old with breast cancer. But in Nigeria, we're seeing that 20s, 30s, we're seeing cancer. The other one is prostate cancer for men. If you're over 40, you do a blood test. It's a blood test. There's again nothing to it, and that just tells you the prostate levels. And prostate cancer is a cancer that if it's detected early enough, you can live for 20, 30, 40 years. It's not a problem because it's more hormonal management. So if someone has a man has prostate cancer, they can live for a very long time, very comfortably. No one would even know they have it. But if you catch it very late, then again, you're dealing with all the other problems where it spreads to the bone, it spreads to the liver, and then you have all your other issues. The other one is cervical cancer. That's the
easiest to detect, actually.
And actually, pap smears detect it before it becomes cancer. So it's so precancerous that we actually can detect the cancer. Again, I think Nigeria's tried with that. I feel like cervical cancer cases have reduced a bit. In the rest of the world, it's pretty much eliminated. But we have a lot here. And the reason it's eliminated there, because they're doing a lot of pap smears, they're catching it early, they're treating it early. So before it even becomes cancer, it's eliminated. So so I guess that's higher in Nigeria than the rest of the world. So I was wrong when I said it's all the same.
No, it's fine. I mean, I like how detailed you are and how clear you are in itemizing each one. But we'll take a break. We'll be back to extend this conversation. This half hour, we'll open up the phone lines. Please send your messages to WhatsApp. Ask your questions. There's no question that is ignorant. Please, we are all ignorant in this studio. There's still more we need to learn about cancer. So send a message to 0809 444 0981.
On Twitter, it's at Smooth981FM. Kindly use the hashtag Lagos Talks 981. On YouTube, we're streaming live. It's at Smooth981FM Lagos.
Providence Bank. Future forward banking.
No, it's so sad.
I impose
For the
Hi there.
Even
Let me tell you
in
something about
other parts
Providence
of the
Bank.
world,
You see,
from
when we set out
teenage
to do banking, we
13,
didn't just
they
want to do
send
the
letters to you
usual.
to come and
We
get the
wanted it to be
vaccine against
different.
HPV
Mm.
for cervical
Oh, we haven't
cancer.
even talked about that one.
And yeah,
Mm.
and then I think every 2 years after you turn 30 or so, or after 20, you're reminded to come and do your pap smear.
So I grew up in Nigeria, but I went to Canada for school and university and everything.
Oh,
And
where?
Toronto,
Okay, Windsor.
Windsor. Okay, nice. So I went to the doctor for the flu, and this is where I remember she cornered me. She told me sit down. I said no, I'm not doing this pap smear. I don't need to. I'm not doing it. I don't. This is very uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. She said you have no choice. You're sitting here quietly and you're getting your pap smear done. I said but I came here for the flu. I didn't come here for a pap smear.
Mm-hmm.
She said no, and it's become
Yeah.
a culture thing there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where
It's normal.
they find a way to catch you and they make sure that everyone has it because they realize even for the financial, even for health insurance sake, it's cheaper.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's cheaper for them.
Yes.
We tried
to
doing that
be
with
Yeah.
secondary
treating-
schools here at some point, but it was highly rejected.
Oh yes.
We
I
actually
can
wanted to
imagine.
partner with some secondary schools
Can
so that the
imagine.
girls can get the
HPV vaccine.
They'll say, didn't they tell you that they'll need to speak with their
highly
PTA?
rejected. Like,
Like,
in
your
fact, the
parents will
rejection
No, it's
was
better now,
mind
though.
blowing.
It's better now.
It's
Where-
better now, right?
But it also
Okay.
depends on the schools you go to. You have to go to schools where
They're private schools. In fact, it was the school that I was an alumni from, and I was in Iron shock.
That what?
Was it in Lagos?
Corona.
Oh my.
let's approach them again.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Approach
I
them
don't
again.
know if I open
Let's go
to
back.
it yet, too. Nigeria. Okay, that's good, very
Aha,
good
good question.
Very good question.
Please bring us back.
I am told
Mics are up.
this is
Today's
smooth
live.
breakfast.
Yesterday was World Cancer Day, and today on Lagos Talks 981, we're looking at the theme I Am and I Will, raising awareness and also talking about prevention for some of them as well as treatment where necessary. I'm Ayo Mairo Ese,
And I'm Valentine Ohu. Good
and this
morning.
is Smooth 98.1. Joining us for the conversation this morning is the founder of Pink Pearl Foundation, Orode Uduaghan, and Bindiya Sadarangani, who is the Center Director at the Lakeshore Cancer Center. Before the break, we've looked at some of the most common types of cancer, not just in Nigeria, but around the world. We've shared on the importance of early detection. We've looked at what can be done in instances where you find a lump or you see symptoms, and we haven't really gone in detail with regards to symptoms because we've done that a number of times on the show. So I'm glad the direction of the conversation this morning. However, we did say that when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about some forms of cancers. We're going to look at preventable cancers like cervical cancer, HPV, vaccines that are available, and just touch on those areas. Maybe we should start with cervical cancer because, like you mentioned, Bindiya, before the break, that in other parts of the world it's almost non-existent because they've understood the importance of catching it early and then doing it, even catching it before it becomes cancer cells. Can you tell us how they do that?
So it's a swab. So it's changes in the cervix. So it's the changes in a woman's cervix that we see. I don't know how technical you go, but if you catch it when there's certain changes, it's almost before it becomes cancer. Cancer is the multiplication of cells in the body, of abnormal cells. So even as the cells are changing to become abnormal, you can actually catch it with a swab, and a test in the vagina to see whether there's anything. And that can go for testing, and we look at it under a slide and we see if there's abnormal cells. Then there's very easy treatments like cryotherapy and removal of those abnormal cells, so like scraping of those abnormal cells. And once that happens, you pretty much have taken it out of the equation. HPV, one cause for cancer, for cervical cancer, is HPV. It's a HPV virus,
Yes.
and it is there's many variations to it, but there's specific ones that can cause cervical cancer. So there's actually a vaccine that's come out. It's called the HPV vaccine. It's 3 shots every 6 months, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yes, every 6 months.
every 6 months, 3
Twice a year.
shots. And that basically ensures that you don't get HPV virus. And then if you don't get the HPV virus, chances of you getting cervical cancer are also lower. So it's almost tackling it from the from
the
initial
very
from
foundation,
exactly.
just erase
So the WHO recommends that girls in their early teens,
Mhm.
even so,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
as young as 13,
13.
there's a lot of debate on the age, but as long as 13
Yeah.
should be starting to get their vaccine,
Mhm.
because it should be before someone's sexually active as much as possible. So before someone's exposed to HPV, because HPV is sexually transmitted.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also now there's a bit of a debate, but they're saying boys should be getting it as well.
Yeah.
The HPV vaccine.
So they don't even transmit it.
They don't transmit it.
I got it, and I remember how I felt. I felt like I'd liberated myself forever.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
What made you get it, if I could ask you?
Actually, my brother told me about it and said, "Oh, come over. We're having this HPV vaccines." And I remember how the routine I took. I took the first one, took the second one. I had to wait another six months, and then
yeah.
went at the exact time again to go. By the time I finished, I was waiting like somebody who was expecting a certificate, like a big certificate.
One disease down.
That's very good. I mean,
Yeah.
I've not heard too many men.
Men,
doing it.
exactly.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually heard this, that men should get it. We focus more
On
on
the
the
women,
women. We
yeah.
actually we absolve the men many times of responsibility, and knowing that only a man can transmit the HPV, can transmit HPV. Perhaps the focus should be more on them, so that you're not doing that.
Because the
Or
funny
both.
thing is, one other nudge I got was I lost a friend, my brother's best friend,
Mm.
who died of hepatitis B, and it was detected late.
Mm.
And that's when I started reading up on it and started researching. So the moment my brother told me, oh, there's a center that's available, and I know the treatment, the vaccine is available at most centers or hospitals around Lagos. But it's very interesting we're talking about this. I actually don't want the conversation to end, but somebody asked a question on WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. He said, can men have breast cancer?
Yes.
Valid question.
1%. Yes.
Yes.
How do we test?
I don't. We've had a male patient. One.
You
We've
can
had
get a
male
lump
patient.
if
Yeah.
you're a man.
Yeah. There's
you can get a
tissue
lump.
there.
You can have your nipple. So it's a nipple inversion is one sign. A lump is another sign. And there's tissue around there. So if there's
Yeah.
discoloration or
Yeah.
some kind of we've had many cases of male breast cancer at Lakeshore actually,
Mm.
and it's very
Yeah.
treatable.
It's very, very interesting.
Before we started, we didn't realize that it was, but you're right. 1%
interesting.
is the number we know now.
Yeah, there might be
could be more.
lots more.
I like how you're stuttering because somebody is asking a question. Somebody asked me, oh, so, but men don't have breasts.
Oh, there's
They do,
tissue
there's
there.
tissue.
It's
What's
flat.
there then?
There's tissue there.
Chest.
It's not bone there. It's tissue.
There's a nipple and there's tissue. So that is
So
a breast.
you're already exposed.
Just not much fatty tissue. That's the
Exactly.
difference.
So yeah. They
but-
do.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been very enlightening.
Yes.
We need to go on a break now, but when we come back, we will be wrapping the conversation, and perhaps you'll be giving us tips, even lifestyle changes or things that we should. Because I know that kind of food, diet, exercise also impacts.
I remember the other one they
Big
said,
way.
if you leave a bottle of water in your car overnight, don't drink it because it's... We'll talk about those myths.
That's my mom.
After this break.
The sun has beat the plastic. You can't drink this.
Yes.
And I'm
cancer.
thinking, yeah, okay, so is lipstick and rug and every other thing around us.
Explain seaweed to me.
I know.
Explain gender.
Exactly.
I'm not a sober topic. I'm just thinking in my life, I need to go and do everything online. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
for online. I need to go and do
Mammogram, pap
mammogram. I
smear.
did it about 2 years ago.
See, don't worry, it's not even me that I'm inside with something. It takes a lot of mental.
Yeah.
Pap smear I've never done, but I want to do it this month.
you should.
without fear.
So pap smear is
You
21
should.
and above, and as the minute someone's sexually active,
You should.
doing it. That's not. It's 3
Definitely.
years.
It's not
It's
so
every 3
painful.
years.
Every 3 years.
Yeah, it's not that
Everything
it's
about
not
the
that
pain.
bad.
It's not life. Which one is painful?
It's actually,
Okay.
if you have it,
No, no, you can. Wow, that's
no, actual penetration, yes.
because it's sexually.
Because that's where it gets chances.
Oral sex. That's where HPV comes into play. That's how men and women can
Mm-hmm.
transmit it as well. So that is
Oh yeah,
considered
that's a good
sexually
question.
active.
That's a very good question because I was like, thank God that I'm not really doing it.
Yeah, but there's.
But actually, you can't actually
There's
transmit it
contact.
that way. Thank you. I think we'll bring up that question. Let's not be ignorant and white.
You answer that one.
And then it's cancer hereditary.
It is.
It can be.
We should mention it.
Yes. In fact, that's actually what I was
I
gonna
think
close on.
as a
Can
round
cancer
of
be? Can cancer
actually
be
as a round of this is what we
exercised?
should do. Yes, as a round of this is what we
Myths.
should do. Just like things,
Can
questions,
you what?
common
Be
questions.
exercised.
FAQ.
Exercise.
Cast and bind.
Well, it can.
Through traditional treatment.
FAQs. I have a
I'm
friend
telling
who
you.
recently had a double.
I was scheduled for one.
Oh really?
Yeah, because of my
Mm.
family.
History.
Yeah, this lady had it
Who?
famously. What's her name? Brad Pitt's former wife.
Oh, yeah.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
She opted for that.
She was my
had both.
idol.
She
Yes.
had
So we
both
should have-
because she
Yes.
did the BRCA gene testing.
I was gonna take out both.
So my friend, one of the biggest challenges for her, because it's business, I can't really talk about it, but I wish I could, because of all the different things around it. Number one was her family. Even family members didn't want her to have an effect because doesn't have children, your prospects of getting married.
Your husband will like you anymore.
Yes, the fact that you have to even go through counseling and therapy sometimes when you go because of emotion. It's not just a physical illness, it's also emotional. So her mind, she had to work on her mindset. We had to put her in contact with someone who had an effect.
Go back.
It was
Sorry. Yes. Remind them of our guest. And this is Lagos Talks 981. It's a special on cancer. I am and I will.
Yes, I am and I will. I am Ayo Mairo Ese, by the way.
And I am Valentine Ohu, and
And
I will.
We will definitely
Ah,
continue to
jeez.
raise awareness. And talking about raising awareness, we've had two fantastic guests with us this morning. From the Lakeshore Cancer Center, we've had Bindiya Sadarangani. Hope I did justice to her name.
Perfect.
Orode Uduaghan, from founder of Pink Pearl Foundation, and it's been such an enlightening conversation. Thanks for sending in comments. Again, if we have just a few more minutes before the end of the show, so you can still send your message or questions to 0809 444 0981. Please, this is not the time to keep quiet or hide in the cocoon of ignorance.
Mhm.
It's never an excuse. You will still bear the consequence if you don't face what is the facts.
Yeah, I'm tempted to add, this is not a test, it's real life. So wake up from that slumber that myth has probably put you on. So let's start asking these questions.
Yes.
And I appreciate the fact that you're sending your questions on WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. Can cancer be bound and cast?
That's a very interesting.
A lot of
question.
us believe it can be.
It can be,
There's
but
nothing
don't.
prayer cannot do, right?
Prayer can do everything, but apply wisdom.
Mm.
Yeah.
And when you see that, prayer is also, I feel like people always, this is pastor in me now. I feel like people always leave prayer for just the immediate miracle in front of you that happens. But prayer can be somebody giving you money to go to the hospital and get the treatment.
Right.
Prayer can be people like Lakeshore Hospital just opening 5 years.
That's
When all
right.
these years we didn't have them, but all of a sudden God sends somebody to Nigeria to open a center. Prayer can be a doctor just saying, "Hey, come, it can come in different ways. It's not
Prayer can-
necessarily the physical miracle. It's different ways. So
Prayer
yes,
can mean the treatment working.
working
So
and
because
you getting
Yeah,
healed.
you getting healed.
Yeah,
So,
so
we need to be very wise.
very, very wise, extremely wise.
So 2 months ago, I had I just got back from a trip and I had a nagging headache. It was so bad, and I was very stressed. I excused it as stress and everything. And usually I know symptoms of malaria, but I didn't have those symptoms. The joint pains and things like that. Until I was forced to go to the hospital to do a test. The lab did a test and realized I had typhoid. Why am I saying this? It's because we're improving, right? But we still don't have that culture of going to get a test. I mean, to get tested. But I really like what you both mentioned at different times at different points of the conversation, how it saves you money to test and detect early.
Yeah.
Before it's late, because it costs you more when it's too late.
Yeah.
Cancer in itself is not a death sentence. So when we have certain questions, frequently asked questions about cancer, some people ask, like a wonderful guy that just asked, can men get breast cancer? Yes, it can be. And I like that Bindiya mentioned some of those symptoms that you can.
Ovia also is asking, how can a guy check if he has breast cancer?
The same,
Same
way
way
a
woman
woman
will
checks.
check.
Breast examination.
Self-breast examination.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, you know your body better than even a doctor knows your body, better than anyone else, your spouse, no one. It's you know your body the best. So you should, when something's wrong with your own body, and you should go to a doctor. You should have a red flag or those points, and go and get checked at that point.
Yeah.
we keep saying that you can blame a doctor for not diagnosing something, but if you know something's wrong, we've had so many situations where people have had a lump, they've gone to the doctor says you're clear, everything's fine, but they had a nagging feeling that something was wrong, and they kept going and kept checking and going to other places, and they finally realized, yes, it was actually cancer. So it's you that knows your body best. You know when something's wrong internally with you. You know those headaches are not normal. Go get your test done, and we should all take ownership for our own bodies.
Does cancer come with pain? The symptoms, that is.
Yes, it can. So cancer can spread. So if you have breast cancer or liver cancer, it can actually spread to the bone, and bone pain is excruciating. It can be, and that's where the late stage cancers come in, because once it spreads to other parts of the body, it can spread to the liver, it can spread to the bones, it can spread to the spine. There are treatments available for pain management, and that's a huge part of what we do at Lakeshore. We do a lot of pain management and palliative care, because someone comes to you with stage 3, stage 4 with bone pain. You don't ignore those symptoms. You manage those symptoms. You make them more comfortable. And we've had people who've lived for 7, 8, 5, 6 years. It's stage 4 cancer with bone metastasis, excruciating bone pain, but they're being managed with pain medication, and they're going to work. They're living a life. No one would even know if you saw them on the street. So it is possible, but yes, cancer does come with pain.
Thank you very much for answering that. How about family support? So some people talk about, I know some people who, when they said, oh, they had to do a certain procedure, their family members are like, no, we can't do that, let's support you. How can you as family support someone who's going through the process?
Without money, though.
Without money.
That's really the major fact.
I feel like family support is like the first thing in terms of dealing with cancer. It's even before medication, because there's a mental thing that happens to you when you're dealing with cancer, or when you have a family history with cancer. I'll give you an example of myself. Because of the history in my family, I was due to have a mastectomy. It messed my mind. It literally, I went crazy, because a year before that, I had taken out lumps from one of my breasts already. So I'm thinking, okay, so the doctor just said, okay, you know what, just take them out so that you don't have to deal with reoccurring lumps, because it had come back again. And thankfully, I had the support of my family. It took me almost 6 months to get back to the doctor. This is me, who is inside the whole cancer thing. And I ran away, literally. But that family support is extremely important, because the person has to first have a very stable mental, they have to be in a good mental space to actually deal with whatever, because the drugs are it takes a toll on your body. Radiotherapy takes a toll on it, but everything takes a toll on your body. So just having that family support is actually really good. And please, families, support people in these cases. It's really important.
Thank you so much. Bindiya, any final words?
No, it's exactly what she said. A family is key. It's the will to live that they give you. So treatment is one thing where you get your treatment pumped in, whatever. But the family actually, and your support system, it doesn't need to be family. It can be friends. It can be colleagues. It can be anyone. But they give you the will to continue and live longer, because it's tough.
It is.
It's a tough process and journey.
Bindiya Sarangani, thank you very much. Uduaghan, thank you. How can we get in touch with you, though, after this conversation? Let's continue the conversation. How can we get in touch with you on social media?
Oh, so the Pink Pearl Foundation, social media, website, everything. The pinkpearlfoundation.org.
Okay, the Pink Pearl Foundation. One word.
Yeah, one word.
For us, it's LCC Cares. So on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media outlets. And our phone numbers, our website is www.lakeshorecancercenter.org. So all the information is there. We run Thursday clinics that are free, discounted screenings as well. So we're always accessible.
Thank you for staying tuned to Smooth Breakfast from 6 a.m. till now. I'm Valentine Ohu.
I'm Ayo Mairo Ese.
And I will. We will.
That's
Well done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Such a great
Well
conversation.
done.